Hey yo, what is good, yo? Alright, so I was recording a video of my quarterback review of Baker Mayfield, and then my mom called, so now I have to re-record this instead of putting out that video because I just cannot be asked to edit any of these videos because editing these videos is going to be a very annoying process that I do not want to actually have to do. I edit some of my videos here on this channel, but not these quarterback reviews. These quarterback reviews are completely unscripted, off the cuff. I make up everything that I say, but everything I say is based on actual fact. By the way, before we get into the actual video and before I talk about Baker Mayfield's quarterback career as a whole, um, I would like to remind you that the best way to keep seeing my content is to like and subscribe to my channel. To like the video and subscribe to the channel. There we go. That's the best way to say it. Exactly. Because most of the people who watch this video are not subscribed, and I know that for a fact because I only have 19 subscribers. So there's that. So if this video gets a decent chunk of views, which for me is around 100 or so views, then that means most of the people are not subscribed. So we want to change that. We want to see more people subscribe so that way more people can view this content all the time. That being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, and I just looked over this, so I know. I think he's going to be the starter for the Carolina Panthers. Anyone who's been following this series knows that I'm doing this series based off of team the teams alphabetically. So if you want to go back and watch the one I did on any of the other quarterbacks previously, who would be Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Marcus Mariota, and Josh Allen. Then you can go back and watch those videos, which are on my channel. But we're gonna get into the Baker Mayfield stuff now. So Baker Mayfield was drafted in 2018, first first round, first pick overall, which has now become a controversial statement because of how his career has gone. But a lot of people would, say, "Oh wait, Baker hasn't technically won the starting job in Carolina." But I think we all know he's going to. The news is pointing to uh, some facts that say uh, that he's going to everybody's thinking he's gonna win the starting job. We'll see what actually happens, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think most people think Baker is going to start for Carolina. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. First of all, 2018 was his rookie year. He probably I think he took over around week 4 or 5 in the Jets game after Tyrod Taylor went down and ended up winning that game, um, and giving the Browns their first win, um, in like 17 or 18 or 19 or 20 games, or how many games they lost in a row. The Browns have lost like probably almost 20 games in a row at that point. And there was a whole thing that year where Bud Light had like these coolers all over Cleveland that we're going to unlock. And a lot they unlocked whenever the Browns won that game against the Jets in 2018, which ironically Baker Mayfield would have been starting against Sam Darnold in that game because Sam Darnold was the quarterback for the Jets back then. So Baker Mayfield beat Sam Darnold back then, and I think he's gonna beat him now too. Um, but yeah, no, Baker Mayfield had a great rookie season. He had a great rookie season. He set a rookie record for touchdowns scored as a quarterback at the time, and he threw for a very large amount of yards, like almost 4,000 yards, without even starting the whole season. So yeah, he had a great rookie season. The Browns overall ended up I believe I just looked at it going 7-9-1, which was a great improvement from their own 16th season the year before. 2019, he did not have a great season at all. Kind of had a very bad season. Was threw for a bunch of yards and 22 touchdowns, but 21 interceptions is very bad. The Browns ended up going 6-10 that year, and that was the year where the Browns were really hyped up because that was the year where they signed Nick Chubb and they signed Kareem Hunt in 2019, and Odell Beckham Jr. also joined the team in 2019 that year as well. So they were a very hyped team, but it just did not work out for the 2019 Browns. However, the 2020 Browns, Baker Mayfield bounced back, looked more like he did his rookie season, and threw for, again, almost 4,000 yards, about 500 yards short, but still pretty impressive stat line in 2022. I mean, not 2022, in 2020. You know, 3,563 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for Baker Mayfield that season. And the Browns would have gone to win 11 games that year, make the playoffs, and win a game against the Steelers in the playoffs, giving the Browns their first playoff win since 1994, a year before Baker Mayfield was even born. So Baker Mayfield had never seen the Browns win a playoff game until he made it happen himself. Okay. So then the Cleveland Browns last year ended up, I want to make sure I got this right. Last year they ended up going 8-9 with Baker Mayfield throwing for 3,010 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions, which is not that great of a stat line, but it's not terrible either. It's a very mediocre average stat line. It's one touchdown per game, and again, less touchdowns. I mean, even the year where he threw 21 interceptions, he still threw more touchdowns than interceptions. So Baker Mayfield has, I mean, overall his stat line is really good. 61 completion percentage is pretty average. Then 14,000 yards is decent. 92 touchdowns is good, and only 56 interceptions in 4 years, which is not bad. I mean, 56 interceptions in 4 years means that Baker Mayfield is, let's do some quick math here. 56 divided by 4 is 14, throwing about 14 interceptions a game, which is, I think, pretty, I mean, probably around average. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. It's less than an interception a game. I mean, you can't really like. I mean, on average, it's probably, let's see, 16 times the 3 plus 17 is 65. But he played less than that. Let's minus like 5. So Baker Mayfield has played a total of like 60, 60 games in the NFL. So, I mean, divide that 56 divided by 60 is, zero point 0.9. So he's throwing like basically one interception a game, which is not that bad. You round it up, it's one interception a game. It's 0.93 interceptions a game, though. But, again, not that bad when you're throwing 92 touchdowns, which is like way more, by the way. Then, yeah, exactly. That's like a way more touchdowns than interceptions, which is big time. But I think, yeah, Baker Mayfield. I think he's obviously had a better career than Sam Darnold. He resurrected the Browns franchise. The Browns are actually taken seriously because of Baker Mayfield. Um, and now they're the Cleveland Clowns because they signed Deshaun Watson, paid him a bunch of money, and then look at what he did in the preseason last week, and then he's going to be suspended for 11 games because of the sexual assault allegations. And the Cleveland Clowns did not care about all that. Um, and then cast away Baker Mayfield like he was a piece of garbage when it was far from the truth. Baker Mayfield overall is a pretty average quarterback in the NFL. And I think, I would have to put Baker Mayfield, I think, as a B tier quarterback. Because the only quarterback I have below Baker right now, I mean, like, Baker Mayfield record, win loss. If you want to look at the win loss record, that's another thing, too, uh, that we can look at. So, I mean, he's a 30-30 in his career, which is exactly at 500. Which, given the fact that he started for the Browns, I mean, the Browns haven't been a 500 team since like forever. They haven't, dude. The Browns in my lifetime have been a below 500 team quite literally almost every single season that they've existed. Like that I've seen them. Like I think only like one season, 2020 was the only season where they were not a below 500 team that I've seen. And the thing is, they're definitely going to finish below 500 this year. Deshaun Watson is suspended for 11 games. All right, that's the final decision. The original decision on Deshaun Watson was that it was going to be 6 games. The NFLPA gave him 6 games. Then now the NFL had a the NFL wanted a full year. They appealed it. They appealed to try to get a full year. NFLPA basically settled and said we'll give you 11 games, and I think there was like a fine onto that. I think it was like a $5 million fine. So yeah, but the important part of that suspension is the 11 games factor because it went from 6 to 11, which is not quite double, but that 11 games means that Deshaun Watson at most is playing 6 games next year. At most. So you're considering the fact that the Browns are now going to have to start Jacoby Brissett for basically the majority of the season. Which means I'm probably going to say, when I get to the Browns, I'm probably going to, look at Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback. I'm not going to do Deshaun Watson because I don't consider Deshaun Watson to be a starting quarterback this season. He's not. He's going to miss the majority of the season. He's not a starting quarterback this year. Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Clowns right now. And the thing is, the Panthers have the Browns quarterback. The difference is the Panthers are actually not dumb enough to be able to cut or get rid of Baker Mayfield for legitimately like no reason. Legitimately like no reason, by the way. Okay? Baker Mayfield was essentially cut loose. He wasn't cut from the Browns. He was traded. He was traded from the Browns because the Browns wanted to go with a guy who was good 2 years ago. Exactly. And by the way, 2 years ago, well, not even 2 years ago, in 2019, that was the last time. That was the last time that Deshaun Watson played uh, played in the NFL. 2019 was last year he played in the NFL. All right, the Texans in 2019. That was the last year he played in the NFL. Went 10-6. So they barely even made the playoffs. As a 10-6 team, and you're gonna be all excited. By the way, oh yeah, by the way, the year that Baker Mayfield made the playoffs, the exact same record. Well, no, even it was better. Last time the Browns made the playoffs. Last time the Browns made the playoffs. Wait, actually, no. 2019 was not the last year. This was the last year that Deshaun Watson played because he did play this year. Last year Deshaun Watson played. The Texans went not 2-4. They went 4-12. Deshaun Watson last time he was a starting quarterback literally went on to lead the team that he was on to a 4-12 record. To a 4-12 record, and you want that guy over Baker? Baker's never even seen a 4-12 record. Baker's never had less than six wins in a season. He's never one time had less than 6 wins in a season. And you're gonna go with the guy that led his team to a 4-12 record 2 years ago, and then the last year the Texans were literally won the exact same amount of games that they did with him than they did without him. They went 4-13. There was one more game added, but the thing is, the year that they cut Deshaun Watson, which, let's be honest, it was basically he got cut. The Texans went 4-13 the year that they cut him, and they went 4-12 the year before they cut him. So essentially, they did not change at all. They did not change at all. They only lost one more game because one more game was added to the season. Welcome to the Cleveland Clowns, fam. The Cleveland Clowns. And the thing is, I'm not even going to talk about the Panthers because there ain't nothing to talk about the Panthers for. The Panthers last year were pretty much hot garbage. I mean, they were, right? That's the reason why Baker's even gonna have a shot to be the starter for this team, because Sam Darnold led the Panthers to a 5-12 record last year. So, what do you want? Sam Darnold, a guy who's never won a playoff game, a guy who's never had a winning record, or Baker Mayfield, a guy who has had, I believe, let's go back here, who has had or at least one season where he had a winning record and won a playoff game, and has had, I'll say it, he had in 2018, even though the Browns did not have a winning record. He himself, I believe, did have a winning record that season. So there's that. Baker Mayfield has, again, like I said, never seen a season where he's been below 6-10. 6-10 is the worst record he's had. So Deshaun Watson has literally had a season worse than Baker Mayfield. I don't even think Deshaun Watson has a playoff win. I don't think he does. I think the year that they went to the playoffs this year in 2020, I don't think the Texans won a single. Well, no, it was 2019. I don't think the Texans won a single game in the playoffs that year. In 2019, I believe that they did not. They probably would have ended up playing, like, I don't know. I think they ended up playing I think they must have ended up playing like the Chiefs or something. I don't remember how it was, but they did not win the game that they played in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield at least has a playoff win, and then Deshaun Watson does not, from what I remember. And you can say, oh wait, but in 2020, this record was not Deshaun Watson's fault. Deshaun Watson had a good season that year, or whatever. But did he really have a good season? If your team goes 4-12, is it really a good season? Or is that a bad season that people want to code up to being a good season? Because, oh, he had a bunch of yards that year. Who cares? His team was still losing games. The Texans were still trash. He's still and people will be like, oh, wait, but, Baker Mayfield is bad because the Browns did not have a good season last year. The NFL is more than just about one guy, yo. That's the funniest part. The NFL is definitely just more than just one guy, right? But I mean, as a quarterback, But you can't make the argument that that's gonna be the thing people will say, right? Like, how can I make an argument against Deshaun Watson, right? Having a how can I make an argument for Deshaun Watson having a bad season in 2020 when or yeah in 2020 when he didn't, right? Just because the Texans went 4-12, but then people will make the same argument to be like, oh, last year Baker Mayfield is an average quarterback. All right, he is an average quarterback, and that's why I think I gotta give him a B. I think he's better than Marcus Mariota. I think he's worse than all the other guys I've graded thus far, besides Marcus Mariota. But I think that he's better than a lot of people that are gonna come later on this list. Like, there are some teams down here that I know for a fact Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than some of these guys on teams down here. But we're not gonna get into that yet, though. So that's Carolina Panthers quarterback Baker Mayfield. That's his quarterback review for me. And I'll catch you next time with Joe Burrow. Will be the next quarterback I do. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow is the next one. We'll catch y'all later. Peace out.